In this video, I'll demonstrate how to work with paths. Now, paths are what allow us to point content to actual files, either in our site or somewhere else on the web. The main focus that we have here is to work with something called relative paths that allow us to work specifically with documents inside of our own site. These allow us to create navigation using hyperlinks, as well as to allow us to include images. So let's take a look at some of the most basic ways to do paths. Let's talk about this navigation. First of all, each of these items here should point to a page within our site. This one should point to our main homepage, the page we're actually currently on. This should point to our bio. This should point to the resume document that's in our docs folder. Oops, that was the blogs folder. This resume file right here. This portfolio link should point into the portfolio page or folder to the main page that's inside of that folder, this index.html file. Likewise, the blog link should point to the index.html file inside of blog. And last of all, this content link should point to contact out here in our main folder. So we have several different situations here. In all situations, we're pointing to files. Some of them are HTML files. This one was a PDF file. Paths are going to work just the same, regardless of whether you're working with an HTML file or a PDF file or some other kind of file. But the other thing that's different is that we have some folders, some files that we're pointing to that are in the same folder as this one, since we're here in index.html file. When we want to point to any of these that are right here in the same folder, the path is going to be very simple. So let's create the homepage link as an example. We're going to use the hyperlink tag with an href attribute. And what we place in the href attribute is the path to this file. In this case, since it's right here in this folder, it's simply index.html. However, and so this would be the same for bio and contact, by the way. However, when we want to point into the main page of the portfolio section, we're going to start with an href again and close that a tag at the end. But now, if we want to point to this index.html file, we first have to go through the folder that separates this file from that file. So we are here, and we want to point here, so we have to go to portfolio, and then index.html. So we're going to type in portfolio with a / and then index.html. All right, so you can see over here in the preview that this hyperlink is pointing to home, and if we click on it, it takes us home. That's great. And then this one has a hyperlink on it that is pointing to portfolio. And if we click on it, we should see now the main portfolio page. And it does look to be the case. Now, we don't have our navigation in place back here yet. So we just are going to move back over to the main document here and save. And once we actually make a change, we should see this page refresh back to the home page. That's a little bit annoying though. So if you have trouble with this, what you might prefer to do for projects like this where we're working with multiple files is to use this open in new window option. This opens this into a new window, which you could drag apart and maybe just place the two side by side like this and then toggle off the preview. So now as we work, we just have to switch over here and refresh with the refresh icon or Command Control R, and that will allow us to refresh. Okay, so we have a link to our home page. We have a link to our portfolio page to demonstrate the two different ways that this works. But let's talk about what this navigation would look like when we're on the home page. So let's click to the portfolio page. Sorry, I meant when we're on the portfolio page. Notice that the path up here is also reflecting that very same structure. The portfolio / index.html should match what we have here. Now, all this bit up at the front is just the unique URL for your actual sandbox. So you can sort of ignore that and imagine that everything after that first / is your relative path to portfolio.index.html. Okay, so we can start with a similar set of links if we copy that URL and paste it over here. However, the context has changed because now we are inside of portfolio and we want to point out to this index.html. So in order to do that here in the portfolio page, we need to do a .. That's called the magic escalator in some cases, or some people call it that. And this allows us to go out one layer to the index.html file. On the other hand, this is the actual page that we're on, so we no longer need this portfolio folder at the front. It's in the same folder as where we are, and so we don't need anything up front there. So when we refresh, you can see we get our hyperlinks in there, and if we click on this, this takes us back out to our main homepage. That's good. Let's click back into our portfolio, where we're now should be on the portfolio. So if we click on portfolio, we should stay right there. Okay. If we didn't make that change, you'll see that we'll have an error. I'm going to go back here and undo it, save and refresh, because now this path points into a portfolio page that's inside of portfolio, and that's not correct. Now, notice that Code Sandbox has been graceful with us, and instead of giving us an error page, they've just taken us back to the home page. So as we check these links, we do want to make sure that we think critically about what page we're seeing to evaluate whether the path has worked as it should. Okay. Note that one other thing that may happen that is a graceful, kind thing that Code Sandbox is doing is that if we enter a path that goes too far out, in this case, this is trying to go 2 folders out, Code Sandbox is also going to be forgiving about that. But we want to get in the habit of doing the right thing. Oops, I will help if I get back to a good starting point here. I'm at the main homepage again. If I click into portfolio, where now I have this path that's trying to go 2 folders out, Code Sandbox catches that and is forgiving. But you need to get in a good habit of being careful about your paths so that you don't ever use more escapes than are needed. Okay, so we've talked about being able to link from one document to another document in the same folder. So let's back out to our main homepage and show you that this works for more than just files called index.html. If we want to go to the bio, for example, just pasting that in to have a nice starting point. Bio is right here in the same folder. So if we just put bio.html, that makes our biography link point to our bio page. Okay, and of course, if we want to do that inside of our subfolder, back over here inside of our portfolio homepage, and we want to point to bio again, we do have to escape out one layer to bio.html, and then of course we need our closing A tag. Okay, so we should be able to go to our portfolio page and click on our bio and successfully get out one layer to the bio page. Looking good. Okay, all of this also works with images. We just have a different tag and attribute to use. So with images, we use the image and the source attribute, and we also want to get in the habit of using the alt attribute, which we will provide alternative text for the image if there is any necessary. In the case of decorative images that are described by the content that follows, we can just leave a blank alt attribute. But for any images that contain things that are not described nearby, we would want to provide a description for that image. And sometimes we even use images that have important text in them, such as a logo that contains the text or the actual word in the logo. In that case, we would want to enter that text here for the alt attribute. So we'll watch for that as we use images. But back to the point, in order to use have this image show up, we need to point inside the images folder to the blueprint.ping. So this would be the image that goes with the blueprint portfolio item. So as with before, we're going to have to enter through the images folder and then to blueprint.ping. Now notice that I made a typo here. So even though it looks like it should work, it does not work because I have a capital B instead of a lowercase b. So there is the blueprint.ping. So we change this to a lowercase b and we go refresh and we should see our image appear. Ooh, I'm actually working in the portfolio page. So let me correct that, move out to the main home page, paste this there, and we should now see the image appear. Okay, to the point before, if we use the uppercase B, that does not render correctly. There is a blank nothingness there because we have no image named with a uppercase B blueprint. So you want to make sure that you look carefully both at your path and at the actual letters that you're using, because things need to match exactly. And according to best practice, we try to remember to name all of our files with lowercase letters, and so that we don't have any capitals that confuse us. Then we should know everything should always be lowercase, and that should catch our attention quickly if we accidentally put an uppercase letter in there. Okay, same thing would work from within the portfolio page, where down in this main portfolio page, if we want to point to this image, you can see it's broken right now because we're in here, and there is no images folder here. We have to first escape out, and then we can go back down into images and blueprint. So again, to escape out, we just put the magic escalator, and we refresh, and we now see that image is working as expected. Okay, hopefully this introduction to working with paths gives you a leg up on your exercise and gives you a better idea of how this all should work. Good luck.